Welcome to the Odds Checker Ryder Cup preview. My name is George Elek and I'm your host, and I'm joined by the expert to my right, Niall Lyons, Odds Checker's golf tipster. How you doing, Niall? You all right? Good. So we are going to be here to talk through the event at La Nacional. We're going to talk through who we expect to win the event. We're going to discuss all the special markets available as well on the Odds Checker site. So maybe before you listen or you watch this, get on the Odds Checker site now so you can see exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about them. Any bet that's available, we have it up there. So make sure you check it out. Firstly, using your expertise, Niall, I mean, the course we're going to see may not be as familiar to some listeners and viewers because, it's based in France rather than often it's over on these shores here. But the French Open's held there a lot, so we've got a lot of course form of players as well. What kind of a course can we expect to see, and what kind of player do you think it's going to suit?
It's a great course for the Ryder Cup to be held on. It's a long time coming, really. The French Open has grown so much over the last 10 to 15 years on this track, and they've done so much work to it, and now it just looks absolutely perfect. And for me, probably the best course in Europe. So, no doubt, it's going to be absolutely exciting for the Ryder Cup. It's just absolutely made for it, really, isn't it? You've got so many amphitheatre holes and so much water in play, especially down the back nine, that it just lends itself to the excitement of the event. So even though I'm not a massive fan of the event, as we've talked about, for this course, I think it's set up to be the best Ryder Cup ever. That's what I think.
The best Ryder Cup ever. That is exciting. In terms of players themselves, there's been a lot written in the press that players don't necessarily need to use driver off the tee. It's going to shoot, a touch game rather than those big hitters. So do you agree with that? Do you buy into that? Do you think it's going to be the power hitters are going to struggle, and it's going to be those players who rely more on their wedge game and putting who are going to come to the fore? Or is there still that ability and potential to blast your way to the top?
Well, the power hitters, there's nothing to be gained from overpowering this golf course, and you're not going to do it. So if the likes of Dustin Johnson, Koepka, and a handful of the European ones, there's just nothing to be gained from taking a driver off it. Like for the first hole, for example, everybody's going to be taking an iron for a position, and even off the 18th as well, more or less. So there's nothing to be gained from. And if any Americans are coming over thinking that that's a tactic and they can do that, they'll get a rude awakening. Yeah. So down the years, it's always suited the more precision, accurate golfers, the likes of Molinari and Fleetwood, and even Alex Noren. He's had success on the tighter tracks, Wentworth included. So it always suits that type of golf, just precision, accurate golf, and if you're looking points on the board, that's what you're going to need to do. So
you mentioned Koepka there, who we saw try and blast his way to an Open Championship earlier this campaign. How important do you think, therefore, the role of the captain is going to be here to curtail those golfers who maybe want a little bit more power off the tee?
Yeah, and Dustin included at the Open Championship in the summer there, just really bad tactics. And yeah, I suppose they've got the right guy on board. If Jim Furyk was the archetypal accurate golfer down the years, and if he was playing here, you'd probably expect him to get a couple of points this time around. The course would just suit him so much. So I do think having Furyk on board will definitely help the Yanks. And Justin Thomas obviously came over in the summer. I was a bit disappointed not more of the Yanks come over in the summer, really. He seemed to be doing a bit of a recce for them, but I just can't understand why, not more than they'd have plenty of opportunities to come over and play in the French Open.
Does that concern you that maybe they're not taking it as seriously as they could do? From a betting angle, or do you think now they'll be focused?
They definitely haven't taken it as serious as the Europeans down the last 10 to 20 years. There's no doubt about that. And maybe relationships just haven't been as good as what they have been on the European team, and there's been a bit more rivalry or just not so much friendliness about. So, but I think that maybe has changed in the last couple of years. You've got a lot younger team for the USA this time, and for the last Ryder Cup that they won, of course. And friendships are definitely. There's a lot more friendships in the team nowadays than there was before. You've got the likes of Spieth and Fowler and Thomas, who are three great friends, and Dustin and Koepka have, they've got such similar games at the top. That they're similar, and it's just a more balanced USA team, I think, than what has been in previous years, and I suppose it reflects in the betting.
Well, we're going to get into the betting now, and given that we've started on the Americans, we're going to start in the top American market. As I said, all of these prices we're going to be mentioning will be the best available on OddsChecker. So make sure, they do fluctuate massively, so do check the site to ensure you're getting the best price for your bet. I'm going to run through the American team now in full, from favouritism down to the bottom. So Dustin Johnson, this is top American again. Dustin Johnson is 11-2, Brooks Koepka 13-2, Justin Thomas 7-1, Jordan Spieth 8-1, Patrick Reed 9-1, Ricky Fowler, Tiger Woods and Bryson DeChambeau all 12-1, Phil Mickelson 22-1, Bubba Watson 22-1, Webb Simpson 25-1, and the final wildcard pick was Tony Finau, and he is 28-1. Given what you've just said about the Bombers maybe struggling, and Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka being at the top of the market, does that mean there's some juice lower down in your eyes? Potentially.
I'll look at the negatives first. Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, obviously their power game isn't going to translate well here, but that being said, they can hit their 5 irons off the tee a lot longer than anyone else as well, so they could have an advantage if they're accurate enough, and like Dustin Johnson's a tough one to judge. One Ryder Cup I think he had 3 wins from 3, and another one he had 0 from 3. So it's a tough one to judge for him. And maybe coming to Europe, I wouldn't be too confident that he'd be one of the top. He
doesn't strike me as someone who's going to really care about this. You can't.
Yeah, well, him and Koepka, maybe you just kind of get the impression. If they say they would go out in 4 balls, they could fall asleep at the wheel or something. There's not going to be much, fanfare with those 2 guys as opposed to even other members of their own team on the European team. So I don't know. I wouldn't be overly keen to go into the 2 favourites in this market, but and there's another couple of negatives. Like Phil Mickelson doesn't. For me, he would be the least profitable member of the team. I would say for this Ryder Cup.
Is it not the argument that he can keep the driver in the bag and from iron play, short game and putting, he's up there?
Yeah, he's special. Yeah. He's special like that. So he could pull stuff out of the fire, but and he's had a good year, to be fair too. Like I can't heap negatives upon him, but he's getting older, and
we all are, Niall.
It's a shame. He's grey hairs, can tell, but he's just getting older, and I think he's there mainly for a bit of a team presence. I think he was instrumental in the last Ryder Cup and them winning it, and part of that crowd that got together to try and win the Ryder Cup, the task force as they called it. So he would be a negative for me as well. Tiger Woods, if you're talking about backing him in the top, any of the top markets, he can't play 5 matches, can he?
No.
At this stage of his career. Same as Mickelson probably, but Tiger's, I would say, has a bit more of a chance of getting more points on the board than Phil.
You say he can't play 5 matches. Surely, if he gets off to a flyer, then he's just undroppable. Like there would be, given what happened with Tom Watson 4 years ago and the decisions he made to drop certain players at certain times. Surely, if Tiger's 2 from 2 or 3 from 3, Furyk can't say to him, get in the clubhouse, Tiger. You're not coming out again.
Well, that's the role of the captain, and if he wins 3 out of 3 and sends him out for the 4th and gets beat, then he'll be criticised for that too. I think you got to look after Tiger. If he plays, how many's that? 36 holes potentially for 2 days, and then another 18.
Could be the end of it.
Yeah, well, at the start of the year, we didn't think he could finish 72 holes in 4 days. Never mind this. So I think he's got to be looked after, and I think it would be foolish to play him 4 days. Even once in every session might be just enough, and he'll bring you home 2 points. But again, it would be a negative for me in the top markets just because of that. The one that stands out for me is Bryson DeChambeau at a top price of 12-1 there. I really like him. His game should be well suited to Paris National, and he's we backed him earlier on in the year to a win. Was it the Memorial, I think? And par 4 scoring there is so important. And again, when he won a couple of weeks ago, it was on another course where par 4 scoring is so important. And I think that it's so important for Paris National too. You're going to need to keep the ball in play, especially in these tough par 4s towards the end of the 18. And I know he's been wayward time to time too. When we backed him to that, when he was all over the place, and it was a miracle that he got over the line. And then we saw him in Europe as well, in Germany, when he got into contention. He was absolutely all over the place too. But nevertheless, on the courses where you need that, accurate precision game, DeChambeau's fared well all well this season. And I think he's one of the rookies that he's got youth on his side as well, you know, and some rookies coming in at an older age just don't really perform as well as what, you know, you'd think that they might. But DeChambeau's one, he's got fire in his belly too, and he could be the real dark horse in the Yank team for me.
He's as short as 8-1 elsewhere, but 12-1 is available with Sky Bet. So, you know, opportunity there to see just how important it is to make sure you're getting the best price. I mean, the interesting thing about DeChambeau is he comes in great form. We've also seen there's a history of these young American rookies coming in with a real fire in their belly. We saw Patrick Reed, obviously, a couple of years ago. We saw even Keegan Bradley 6 years ago. Despite the fact they lost, he was crucial to that Medina first couple of days. Another rookie as well who maybe, I mean, it certainly is a better golfer, but maybe won't have that same passion as Justin Thomas, but still an interesting prospect at 7-1, given that he did come over and play a couple of months ago.
Yeah, and he would have plenty of partners as well. That, you know, you would fancy them going. He could partner with Ricky, he could partner with Reed, partner with Spieth, even one of the big hitters at Dustin or Koepka.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're going to be strong favourites in any match that they're put out, any match that Thomas is. So, yeah, I couldn't put anyone off getting involved with Thomas in that either. I would expect him to come home with at least a couple of points by the end of the week.
And we've seen before as well that Ryder Cup golfers who are successful tend to be successful in plenty. It's very rare that you get someone, I know you mentioned Dustin, but it's rare you get someone who has a fantastic year one year and then absolutely tanks the next. Patrick Reed, I mean, I think everyone can remember what happened a couple of years ago in America. Not only that classic singles game against Rory McIlroy on the Sunday, but also his partnership with Jordan Spieth in the first couple of days. At 9-1, a bigger price than Spieth as well, and someone who's won his first major, who we know is going to absolutely love the atmosphere and is going to be the pantomime villain, surely. Is he someone who there could be a bit of juice in?
Well, these are the pitfalls, and you know, of backing in the Ryder Cup. You know, similarly, not the last Ryder Cup, but the one previous to that. You know, I had a few quid in Poulter to be top European scorer, and he only come back home with 1 point.
Yeah.
And you know, it's just it's something that you just can't really ever be sure of predicting. I don't know. Like, he's in there at 9-1 for a reason. I think, you know, it's just, you know, even though he's now America's Poulter, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's their big cheerleader. So you couldn't put anybody off. But he'll play with Spieth. He could play with Spieth all four games of it. You know, especially if they win their first game. So yeah. You couldn't put anyone off, but it's just what these markets. You know, you back Paddy Reed, and then he goes out with Spieth 4 games, and they're both on 4 points, or both on 3 or 3.5 after 2 days, and you know, you still need a miracle on the last day to get over the line. Like, it's just a difficult market to get right. It always is. So
there you go. So I think you're leaning towards Bryson DeChambeau. The one player that I'm tempted to back is Ricky Fowler. Despite his poor Ryder Cup record, I feel a bit sorry for him. I mean, he's so good when he comes over to Europe and plays here. I think he's arguably got the strongest form in the last 5 or 6 years over here. Obviously, you know, going back before that, you got Tiger's form at the Open Championship, which was incredible. But just seems like the course is set up for him. His wedge game is often so good. I feel sorry that he was sent out 4 games in a row with Jimmy Walker at Glen Eagles, which seemed to be a bizarre call. They halved 3 of those games. He lost a singles match very comfortably against Rory McIlroy. But I don't know if it's necessarily fair to say that he's a player who won't have a good Ryder Cup record in the future. And at 12-1, it just seems like it could be a bit of, you know, he could easily play all 5 again. Yeah,
there's definitely a bit of juice in that. As you say, he's, of all the members of the Yank team, he's the one who's played the most golf in Europe or on the European Tour, and he's had a couple of wins on the European Tour as well, out in the Far East, and he won in Scotland as well. So, you know, yeah, as you say, just that precision game off the tee is another. You know, his wedge game is superb, and after some, you know, lackluster form in the months previous, you know, he's played well this last couple of weeks. So yeah, he could just be coming into form at the right time.
There you have it. So glad to see you're not rubbishing my idea, Ricky Fowler.
I have done all year.
Yeah, I know.
Selection.
Normally you're right.
I think, you know, it was one of the last ones. I think I have to go with it.
On to the Europeans now, and I'll do the same. I'll run through the team in basically odds order. Justin Rose and Rory McIlroy are the 11-2 joint favourites. Again, these are best prices available on Oddschecker. John Rahm, surprisingly to me at least, is 9-1, third favourite. Then Tommy Fleetwood at 10-1, Francesco Molinari at 10-1, Henrik Stenson also at 10-1. Ian Poulter 12-1, Paul Casey 14-1, Sergio Garcia 14-1, Alex Noren 20-1, Tiller Hatton 28-1, and Torbjorn Olesen at 30-1. A bit more of an open market this one. Who immediately catches your eye?
Well, I'll start with the negatives again. You know, the American wildcards are so much more stronger than the European wildcards for me personally. Anyway, I know Garcia has an unbelievable record in this, and he was the most controversial of Bjorn's picks. And I get the impression that Thomas Bjorn had basically told him not to play much golf in the last couple of months, because if he comes over to Europe or wherever he plays and misses cuts as he was continuing to do, it was basically, I can't pick you. So I think it was strategic on both their parts to not play, for Bjorn to have a conversation, just not to play much golf. And now as soon as he picks him, he's talking about where he's going to play, and he's going to play in Portugal and all. So,
in a weak field.
You know, it's just obvious. So Garcia,
he also had a big poker tournament as well. So he had to go to that. But.
So form-wise, he's the worst of the lot of them.
Yeah.
You know, but he has a tremendous Ryder Cup record, and there's no doubt that, you know, when the Ryder Cup comes around, that he comes into life. You know, so you can't rule him out at all.
Who would you reckon? I mean, do you think we're going to see a North Spanish pairing of Rahm and Garcia, or do you think?
I would say so. And you know, you talk about Rahm at 9-1 there, like, it's tasty enough.
Yeah.
You know, he's one that you could send out in 4 balls and foursomes, I think. So yeah, that they could become a formidable enough partnership. I would be tempted to partner Rahm. I wouldn't like to keep the Spanish pair together all the time. You know, Rahm's such a talented golfer, and such a, you know, he could be the proper live wire in this team now. So I would be tempted to put him with a few others as well, even maybe with a rookie, even though he's a rookie himself. So I don't particularly like the chances of Tommy Fleetwood either. I don't see any, you know, exciting partnerships for him.
Yeah.
He might be paired with Casey. But Fleetwood, you know, he's got a win at Paris National, but he's had 4 other missed cuts out of the last 5, I think. So I don't think he can be considered, you know, one of these course form golfers like Molinari is. You know, he's finished runner up 2 or 3 times.
We know you're a big fan of Molinari, and again, I thought you might be drawn to him at 10s.
Yeah, I'm half tempted because, you know, you talk about the guys who are going to play 5 matches, and I think Rose and McIlroy will definitely play 5 matches. But I think next on that list for me would be Molinari. I think if he goes out and wins his first match, then he'll play the rest of them. And he's got such great course form around there, and his Ryder Cup form up until now isn't the best. You know, it's sketchy. So he'll be looking to improve that.
He's a different golfer now, though, isn't he? Really?
Definitely, yeah. He has to be a different golfer, and if he arrives there and, you know, and he plays the golf that he's been playing all year, then, you know, we'll see the different golfer on the Ryder. But then if he gets nervous and thinks about his record, and, you know, that he hasn't contributed that much before, you know, things could get on top of him. But I would fancy Molinari to go well.
One player who I think will prove very popular, I'm sure, with punters, will be Ian Poulter, back in the Ryder Cup team, where he belongs. I mean, it's short enough at 12-1, and you said you've fallen in the trap before with backing Poulter in the Ryder Cup. I mean, is he 12-1 on merit? He's obviously played some fantastic golf this season. Yeah,
well, he's another, you know, if he's sent out in the morning on Friday, that if he wins his match, you can't really drop him either, can you? Even though he's a wild card pick. So yeah, I fell into the trap a few years ago, and he only came home with 1 point, but maybe, you know, you just need a real tight Ryder Cup for him to come to his best, like he did at Medina. And this certainly looks tight in paper. You can't see any one of the 2 teams running away with it, even though the betting suggests kind of differently, because there's been tighter betting heats going into Ryder Cup. But yeah, Poulter's going to be one of the most important players for Europe, no doubt, especially in the singles on Sunday. And then looking down towards the bottom of the market, 2 players at big prices, 28-1 and 30-1, Torbjørn Olesen and Tyrrell Hatton. I think we're all quite excited to see how Tyrrell Hatton takes to the pressures and the atmosphere of the Ryder Cup. It could certainly be fiery. Torbjørn Olesen, on the other hand, normally a picture of calm. Do you think these 2 have more of a role to play than their price suggests? Possibly. Olesen, you know, isn't known for a real accurate game. You know, he has played well around Paris National before, but I'd be slightly worried about him, you know, once in the pressure cooker, because he hasn't even really, you know, I think he finished in the top 5 there at Firestone a number of weeks ago, but he hasn't really been in the heat of battle of any major championships or anything like that there. You know, Hatton was right in the mix in the WGC in Mexico earlier on in the year that Mickelson won, and he fared quite well. But I think Hatton gets a lot of stick, and always, you know, his outbursts are, you know, frequent, just like Thomas Pieters, who hasn't made the team, but Thomas Pieters, I think, where the difference between those two golfers is that Hatton just has slightly the better attitude, and when he's interviewed off course, and you know, he can have a laugh at himself at the same time. You know, he's not
on course. He can't.
Yeah, he's not quite, you know, the fiery character on course. There's a bit, you know, I think he gets some unwarranted stick. To be fair, you know, he is while the likes of Pieters, I don't see that same attitude. Like I just see that, you know, chip on the shoulder on and off the course kind of with Pieters, but Hatton's a bit different, and I think he could be important in the team room. And there'll obviously be a lot of planning with Bjorn and his vice captains going in of the best way to use Hatton and to channel his emotions positively, because if they are channeled positively, then he could become a real important member for the team.
We were dreaming in the office this morning of a Saturday evening Poulter and Hatton combination.
Super, yeah.
Both pumping each other up.
Yeah.
Finally, we're going to talk about the player that I quite fancy, who's also at a big price, is Alex Noren at 20-1. It's easy just to tip him up because he won at the course this year, but he's also got good course form there before. And it seems to me, you know, he qualified very easily for the team, and he would have been an obvious wildcard pick if he hadn't been. And it seems to me like he's been priced up as if he may not play very many games here, but it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever to see him play 5, purely because the quality of his play, the nature of his steady, you know, the steady nature of his golf, I think suits both four-ball and foursomes very well. Yeah. He could be one, if they get on a roll, could easily outrun his price of 20-1.
Yeah, and he's one who's, you know, iron play when it went on song, he just absolutely knocks down flags, you know, which is really important in the Ryder Cup. You know, you've got players. Bizarrely enough, you just see so much better golf in the Ryder Cup in general, just because everybody just fires at the pins. So he's one of them that'll benefit from that. And you know, I don't know whether he'll play 5 matches, but I think he could play 4. And yeah, 20-1, he's sitting at a lovely price there. You know, especially each way with 3 places. So it depends on who he's paired with too. You know,
it's harder to guess with the European team, really, isn't it?
It is. And will he be paired with Stenson? And both of those guys have had slight injury worries over the last number of months. So you know, it all depends on what they're carrying, and maybe Noren's, he could still have the odd injury carrying into the Ryder Cup. So
fingers crossed he won't. I'm hoping for a Molinari-Noren partnership personally, but that is pure guesswork on my behalf, and we will see. Well,
he won there, of course, this summer too.
Exactly.
So, you know, he
finished 10th the year before. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that course form, you know, it lines up better than Fleetwood's with the win and so many missed cuts. So I do think, you know, Noren is a nice price there. Yeah.
So putting you on the spot, who would be the one you'd take for top European?
Probably John Rahm for me, because I think. It's a toss-up between John Rahm or Molinari, because I do think those guys have the potential to play 5 matches. I know Rose and McIlroy, I do think will play 5, but then they're never. You don't think they're going to be paired together. You know, you don't like the back guys that are going to be paired together and they're on the same score after all days, no matter what. You know, you want to gain an advantage of some sort. So, yeah, I like the looks of Rahm and Molinari.
So therefore, I can probably assume that for top European rookie. You're going to be liking Rahm as well. We're just going to rattle through a couple of these special markets before we get to the crux of it and see who's going to be backing to lift the trophy. But Rahm is 11-5. This is top European rookie. Look, Rahm 11-5. Tommy Fleetwood 11-5. Alex Noren 5-1. Tyrrell Hatton 13-2. And Torbjorn Olsen 15-2.
Well, maybe we're talking about Alex Noren. Maybe that's the better price there at 5-1. You know, it certainly seems like it to me.
Yeah.
It's a guessing game as to how many games these guys are going to play, but I think Tommy Fleetwood's very short in that market for given his course form and just given the nature of his golf and who's going to partner him. He's not the most, you know, incendiary of golfers, so you know, he's a difficult one. He definitely won't play 5 matches for me anyway. So I think the value lies with Rahm and Noren in that market. So
Rahm and Noren there. We're going to look quickly at top European wildcard, which is a pretty interesting market given the. You know, probably the lack of strength and depth there. Ian Poulter 5-2 favourite, Henrik Stenson 11-4, Paul Casey 3-1, and Sergio Garcia 3-1. So very, very open, very trappy indeed. Those 4.
Yeah, I think Casey will play 3 matches max over the week. Obviously, he's had his troubles before with the European team and not really given the Ryder Cup enough attention. That was dealt with Bjorn at the start of the year or the start of last year. So, you know, he's made the team now but I don't think he'll just there'll be others favoured over him, and he's not the most likeable of characters either, from what you read and what you know.
Sorry, Paul, if you're listening.
Yeah, reading between the lines of what some golfers say. So, You know, I don't think he will play. I think he's going to play a max of 3 matches. So it's just out of the other 3, who do you fancy most? And maybe Garcia would be the one. You know, he's got a cracker Ryder Cup record, and even though it's just whether he can come to life in this environment, I'm sure he will. And if, as I say, even if he is partnered with Ram, it could become crucial, you know.
So the friendless Sergio Garcia at the moment has a friend in Niall there. 3-1 for Sergio, top European wildcard. Top American rookie now, just a 3-horse race. Justin Thomas 5-6, Bryson DeChambeau 9-4, and Tony Finau 4-1. You know, you said nice things about the top 2 in this market, Thomas and DeChambeau. At those prices, is there any value there, or do you think they've got this about right?
It wouldn't be a market that I would particularly be keen on. I think it's priced about right, as we say. Tony Finau would probably play 3 matches at max.
Yeah.
But I think his game will suit Paris National too. You know, it's not, you know, when he takes the irons off the tee, he can be a shade more accurate, and he'll need to do that. And he could just be a bit of a jack in the box in the USA team. But as I say before, I like DeChambeau in the top American market, and I would fancy him to take that too. You know, it depends on what these guys, you know, be paired up with. But for me, there's no real value there.
No value there, but no value because I think you like all 3. So that's
potentially, yeah.
So maybe just ones to look at in the just in the top American market, as we discussed. Top American wildcard now, Tiger Woods 39-19, which is a pretty miserable price there. So we'll change that to 2-1. 2-1 Tiger Woods. Bryson DeChambeau 9-4, Phil Mickelson 130, and Tony Finau, as you mentioned just there, 9-2. Any juice?
Well, DeChambeau was 9-4 in the previous market with a top rookie, and I far prefer to take the 9-4 here in the top wildcard, simply because Woods and Mickelson cannot play 5 matches for me.
Yeah.
Just simply because like Mickelson, I don't think will be too popular anyway. I don't think he'll get too many points on the board to warrant 5 matches. Definitely not. And Tiger just has to be looked after. 18 holes a day would be enough for Tiger for me. Like if I was captain, I would rather just send him out twice and get the best of him rather than put him under pressure. You know, 36 holes in one day. So again, I think DeChambeau's a nice 9-4 bet in that wild card market.
DeChambeau 9-4. So now on to the big one, and we're going to talk about who is going to win the Ryder Cup. We've seen, you know, USA have been consistently favourites for a while now. Me and you spoke a couple of months ago, and you thought the market may shift towards making it more of a pick and match. It hasn't really done so far. And we've got the USA are 5-6. Team Europe are 6-4, and the draw is 12-1. I know you've got some good stats about players' ages and about wildcards coming into the tournament as well, which may point listeners and viewers one way, but I think you still think the juice is the other way. So talk us through your thinking.
Yeah, well, as I say, like, I do think the 6-4. I've said it on social media. I just can't understand that, you know, that the 8-11 v 6-4 in this match. I really can't. It's understandable on paper looking at it why the prices are that way, because as far as world ranking points and so on go, the Americans have shaded that over the last 12 months, and they have a lot more in the top 20 than what Europe have. I think Europe have a right few outside even the top 20. You know, you've got Olesen at 44, Poulter 34, Stenson 23. Some of them just, you know, aren't as high in the rankings as others. So, but yeah, as I said to you just before we started this recording, you know, the older you get, that seems to be in the stats that, you know, the record gets poorer and poorer. You know, you've got anybody who's playing their 5th Ryder Cup plus.
Yeah.
Stats show that they lose more matches than what they win. Same again for over 37-year-olds. It doesn't really bode well for Europeans' picks, the likes of Poulter, Garcia, Stenson. You know, these are Ryder Cup stalwarts, mind you, which could easily, you know, they could easily buck the trend because they've got that much experience in the event. But younger players do a lot better than what, you know, they're kind of given credit for down the years, and young rookies especially. You know, the younger rookie you are, if you're under 28, you have a better record than a rookie at over 28, and you wouldn't really expect that, because you would expect someone with a bit more experience to handle the pressure cooker a bit better. But so it bodes well on paper. Everything bodes well on paper for me, for the Yanks, and so it's understandable that why the betting is like that.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I think the course in Paris National and the French Open down the years is going to play such a huge part in this. And the European players have so much experience there down the years, and you've got winners there on your team. You've got Fleetwood and Oran who have won there. and other guys who've finished in the top 3 and runner-up finishes. It's definitely going to favour the Europeans for me in that, and they're used to the greens and and just the general nature of the environment. It's colder than what it is over there.
Yeah.
It's been so long since the Yanks have won in Europe. I think 25 years now since the last time they won the Ryder Cup in Europe. So it's not going to be easy as far as the betting suggests. And the European team compared to last time, I think, is just so much stronger as well, because they've got so much more experience in America and the majors and the WGCs than what the previous ones did. They had the likes of Andy Sullivan and Chris Wood, and they've still won the Ryder Cup with these guys down the years. But now you've got John Rahm, who's a top 5 player in the world, and you've got Molinari, who's just won a major, and you've got Fleetwood, who's contended majors all year and contended big championships. Alex Noren, who's won big championships, and took Jason Day all the way at Torrey Pines earlier on in the year too. Just think the European team is it's got so much more depth than usual.
So there you have it. So you're tipping up the 6-4.
Yeah, I'll be back in the 6-4 Europe.
Do you reckon that 6-4 will still be around come Friday morning?
Well, it looks like it.
I
didn't think it would. I didn't think it would. I thought it would come a lot closer to a pick match, and it is for me more or less a pick match. And I think that's what the betting should be. But who am I to argue? So I'll back the 6-4 and hopefully make a few quid. So
there you have it. 6-4 on Europe to win the Ryder Cup is the closing tip. If you make sure you follow Oddschecker on Twitter, you have a look at the site, because all of Niall's tips over the weekend will be up there. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, because you can see loads of video content. We're about to shoot some really interesting stuff with Niall right now as well, which will be great. Subscribe to the podcast as well if you're watching this on YouTube, because all of this goes up as audio as well. Thanks very much to Niall. We really hope you enjoy the weekend. It's set to be an absolute cracker yet again for the Ryder Cup.